Bits and Bones, my name is Lady V, and welcome to my channel. If you've been around my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a short-form writer by nature. I have several stories in various anthologies, I publish multiple memoir collections, and I run a publication on Medium that deals specifically in nonfiction prose. Me and long-form just aren't the best of friends, and as I'm growing on platforms as a writer, I thought it would be fun to share a bit of behind the scenes and how my mind ticks, and why I'm so drawn to short-form writing. I wrote an article on it a while ago that I'll read, and then I'd like to know what you think, if you're at all similar, or this just kind of sounds like crazy talk to you. So, how a short story writer's mind works. Are you part of a genre, or just curious how we tick? Hi, I'm a short story writer. I'm sure you're thinking, anyone can write a short story. And that's very true. The difference between one's ability to write a short story and one's inclination to, however, has nothing to do with that first bold fact. I'd like to share with you why I'm a short story writer and what my process looks like compared to long-form writers. You may find similarities that you did not expect, or I hope it helps you with your own writing in the future should you happen to be on the same wavelength. Where does my inspiration come from? As with most all creatives, I find inspiration while experiencing other people's work, and my own life, but that's usually pretty boring. Do you ever get to the end of a movie or book and think, wow, that was great, except I would have done the ending a bit of a different way? That said, my approach to manifesting that tidbit of inspiration can be quite strange. Where novel writers are invested in their favorite tropes, genres, or character arcs, I'm inspired by nothing more than the moment, the scene. The glaring thing that I feel in my soul ought to have been otherwise. Instead of an overarching story, my mind focuses on the little concept behind it. An easy way to describe this form of inspiration is reading between the lines. The character's specifics aren't nearly as important to me as capturing the theme. Isn't that restricting? I find this form of minimalistic creative inspiration liberating rather than hindering. Perhaps you can relate. Being inspired by something small and none of the rest of it, while you can pull a lot of small inspirations together into one larger work, I find it tedious. I believe many writers that suffer from perpetual low word count are more similar to a short story writer's mentality than they expect. They have a story to tell, but not enough words to tell it, because really, they're not interested in the scene description or the side characters, because it's really only ever been about the long-awaited climax that inspired them to write in the first place. One concept, many endings. Perhaps my last attempt to equate my process with yours did not work. But how about this? As much as you want to write one story, you're pulled by many different endings. Writers don't typically experience this until they've delved into their first draft, and the characters have miraculously started creating themselves against the author's will. This isn't the direction I expected the story to go. Plotter writers with wild imaginations. This is a common problem. Sometimes it's good for the story's believability, and others it's bad for any writer that gets hung up on the ending that they want. Unlike writers that are plagued by a slowly manifesting change of pace in their story, I'm hit with it before I even begin. Once I am zoned in on an idea, I can see it played out a multitude of ways. Here's an example of a concept that I was recently intrigued by: a deadly water spirit. Beautiful, seemingly peaceful, but hungry. I came up with several ways to tell a story about it. A homicidal water spirit that plagues a village, the moment said water spirit lures a young child to their death, or a spell that a water spirit places on a child who escapes the aforementioned scenario. Yes, I'm a very dark writer. Such a simple concept sprouted multiple avenues I wanted to interact with it. As much as I could combine these moments into one cohesive story, it would take away from the poignance of the idea with extra weighted down information. Does it matter more that we grow old with the child between these events, or that these scenes stand alone on their own? And I prefer the latter. The same, but smaller. Hopefully you can relate to a couple of things that I talked about in this article. If you did, you may want to try your hand at short stories instead of committing to something long form. The small things can be just as impactful as the big ones, if they're done with intent and passion. If you didn't relate to any of my processes, I hope that I've at least enlightened you to the different ways some writers approach their writing and how they choose which projects to pursue, and how. I know not everyone is plagued with a million little ideas, and it certainly makes me feel more included in the writing community to have my creative process understood and accepted. Thank you so much for spending time getting to know a short story writer. So, after revealing my deep inner workings, what do you think? Does my thought process sound just, chaotic, or make total sense? I'd love to know. And let me know how you approach your writing process. Maybe we have a bit in common, and some things just totally different. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to my patrons. If you'd like to support me and my channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!